I've been looking forward to this day. The day we could live with my parents in our new house with a garden. By the way, you're now the caretaker for my parents starting today. Christina, make yourself useful for us. I married Keith 5 years ago, but I could never have imagined such vile words from him back then. My husband once comforted me through my lonely life. And he taught me the wonderfulness of living with family. Not a trace of that kind man remained. As I casually surveyed our new house and its surroundings, I noticed several men walking and a woman using her smartphone. Unperturbed, I spoke to my husband as if conducting a business transaction. It's great that you can live with your parents. Well, I won't be living with them, though. And don't worry about caregiving, I've already arranged for that. What? You're not living with us? You don't have the right to decide that. I've decided, so just follow along. And what do you mean, I've arranged for it? Don't tell me you hired a helper without my permission? What's going on, Christina? My husband's face quickly turned as fearsome as a demon, but to me, it was funny enough to make me almost double up with laughter. Because I already knew all about his true nature. There was nothing funny about it, but I couldn't bear it without laughing. His nature was so vile, it completely turned my values upside down. In front of our new house, which was pristine just like a snowy field where no one had stepped foot, only my desire for revenge blazed fiercely. I haven't hired a helper. Could you just sign this anyway? When I handed him a piece of paper, his face turned from a demon to something even worse as he showed his rage. What is this? Explain this to me. Oh? It's just a divorce form. Didn't you know? I've already filled in my name, so just sign it and submit it to the law office. I suppose you learned something? Are you joking? I know it's a divorce form. What I want to know is why you want to divorce. You are talking nonsense, never mind. I won't accept this. My husband, who shouted so loudly next to my ear that I thought my eardrums might burst, tore up the divorce papers. Did he want me to explain why we divorce? Rather, I wanted him to explain why he thought he shouldn't be divorced. My parents will be here soon. Don't you dare say anything unnecessary like bringing up divorce. You know what will happen later, right? I don't plan to say anything unnecessary. Just sign this quickly, okay? Without a pause, I presented a second divorce form to him. I had also filled in my name on this one. I had prepared dozens, anticipating they might get torn up. You're definitely mocking me, Christina. All you have is your ability to do housework and your pretty face, right? I saved you, who had no family or friends, and I've been supporting you. And this is how you repay me? Don't you get it unless I show you the hard way right now? At this moment, I was reassured once again. He had never loved me from the beginning. I was truly foolish not to see the true nature of him. As he claimed, I had no family or friends. My parents disappeared when I was a high school student. And I had been desperately living alone ever since, leading a lonely life. I often speak my mind without thinking and unintentionally say outrageous things, which makes it hard to maintain relationships, and I have no friends. The only conversations I had were with colleagues and my boss at work. But they got transferred, and I couldn't talk to anyone anymore. It was my husband, who is right in front of me now, that accepted me like that. My husband, who was often away on business trips, always cared for me when he was home. My life drastically changed, but the moment I realized I was being deceived by him, only intense regret and emptiness remained. What's with that look, Christina? Don't you get it unless you see the hard way? Come on, answer me. Maybe you're the one who won't understand unless you see the hard way? Really, what a foolish man. By the way, are you okay with this? Your parents have just arrived. A luxury car stopped in front of the new house, and Keith's parents got out. His father, also in sales, was still topping performance charts. At 50, he looked much younger with his tall and gentlemanly demeanor. On the other hand, his mother, a homemaker and former teacher, was extremely popular among all her students. I was convinced she was as warm as I had heard, having interacted with her over the past few years. In contrast to my agitated husband, his parents calmly assessed the situation. Keith, I sensed something unusual. What's going on? It seemed like Christina was glaring at you. That's never happened before, has it? Nothing really. We were just excited about living in our new house with a garden and being able to live with family. But Christina suddenly said she didn't want to live with us, so I was just surprised. Right, Christina? Smooth as always in his sales role. My husband responded with a smile as if our earlier exchange had been a dream or an illusion. He still thought I was incapable of anything and that my talk of divorce and living arrangements was just a bluff. Is it true that you don't want to live with us, Christina? We don't want to force you. Could you share your reasons with us? Keith told us that you wanted to live with us. Is there some misunderstanding? We won't blame you, just let us hear your feelings, okay? Facing their caring smiles, I felt terribly sorry. But they needed to know, so I resolved to tell them everything. I'm sorry, Father and Mother. I can't live with you. Because I'm divorcing Keith, right here, today. As soon as I confessed to Keith's parents, my body started trembling slightly. Although I had no problem when I confronted Keith. Revealing everything felt like betraying their kindness. Thinking that, I suddenly felt scared. Divorcing Keith? What do you mean, Keith? It must be serious for Christina to say this. No, Dad, don't take it seriously. There's no way we're getting a divorce partly because, we have just bought a house. It's just that the change in environment has made her mentally unstable. It's not the first time Christina has been unstable, right? Once again, my husband responded with a sales smile. But my unusual behavior did not convince my father-in-law. Taking a deep breath, I steeled myself again. I thought, if I don't say anything now, no one will be happy. It would certainly make my in-laws sad. Let's all go inside the new house for a moment. Then, I'll explain everything. All three nodded quietly, but only my husband showed me his true colors with a warning look. Don't say anything unnecessary. We entered the new house and sat down in the living room facing each other. My husband and I opposite his parents. After taking a deep breath, I stated the facts. Regarding us living together, I was not informed at all by Keith. And another thing. I found out that Keith married me to make me take care of his parents. Although my in-laws had kept their smiles to prevent me from feeling uneasy, their expressions changed drastically at my words, more out of confusion than belief. They had never seen Keith's true nature, and believed he was serious about his work and dutiful as a son. They probably believed that my husband, who had always been a model student, would never do such a thing. Sorry, Christina. I thought I had told you, but it seems it didn't get through. I apologize for that. But I married you because I love you. Maybe you felt insecure because I haven't expressed my feelings in words lately? I'll be careful about that from now on. To someone who didn't know the whole story, Keith might seem like a good husband. But to me, who knew everything, every word he said was repulsive. I could see he was confident that my in-laws wouldn't believe me. But arguing here would lead nowhere, so I moved to my next step. I understand why you're shocked. But there's more. Could you please look at this? I took a brown envelope from my bag and laid it in front of my in-laws. Inside were several documents and a bundle of photos, enough to disturb even the calmest people. What is this? Is this suggesting that Keith has been unfaithful? You must be kidding. Keith, what are you thinking? Indeed, what I had shown them was a report of Keith's infidelity and photographic evidence. I had begun to suspect something. Given his frequent business trips and last-minute cancellations on birthdays and anniversaries. So, I checked his smartphone and computer and found messages that seemed to be from a woman. When I followed him on a supposed business trip day, it turned out to be a romantic getaway instead of business. I initially considered hiring a detective, but once I discovered who his mistress was, I realized that I could do the investigation myself. In the process of monitoring my husband, I discovered that he married me to care for his parents. Just as I was about to explain this, Keith interrupted me. I haven't cheated on you, Christina. You must have followed someone who looked like me or made up the evidence. Anyway, it wasn't me. Mom, Dad, I deny it. No, Keith. With a lot of evidence like this, it's hard to believe you at once. I don't want to believe you would cheat, but this evidence is overwhelming. The man in these photos is unmistakably you, Keith. It's unthinkable that Christina would fabricate this. What are you talking about? Believe what your son says. I don't recognize the woman in the photos, and Christina must have gathered this evidence, right? Christina, correct this. Keith kept denying everything, telling lies and excuses one after another. I knew his struggles only made my next move stronger. This was all within my expectations. Keith, you really don't know the woman in the photo? You can't take back those words, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not lying. I don't know any such woman. Before Keith could finish his sentence, the doorbell rang. A visitor to our newly moved-in house? Everyone, except me, thought it must be a mistake, assuming it would be a delivery service or something. Ignoring Keith's attempt to return to our conversation, I went to greet the visitor at the entrance and led the person into the living room where everyone was. Keith's face turned ashen instantly. My in-laws repeatedly looked back and forth between the photo and the visitor. Keith, I'll ask again. Do you really not know the woman in the photo? She's the same person here, right? Why is Rachel here? Christina, what have you done? Keith showed the greatest disturbance of the day as his eyes darted around and he started to sweat. I understand that well. Rachel, the woman currently in front of us, is my husband's affair partner. And I was the one who called her here. When I told my husband that I wouldn't be living with him in front of our new house, I saw several men walking and a woman using her smartphone. That woman was Rachel. She was positioned out of my husband's sight, so he couldn't have noticed her. The reason why my husband's affair partner was near our new house is that I had asked her to be on standby. It's confirmed then, Keith has been lying. By the way, I know Rachel very well. She used to be my colleague. When I was working, the only people I talked to were my colleagues and my boss. And Rachel was one of them. I conducted the investigation into the affair myself because I could easily track Rachel. And it wasn't necessary to hire a detective. I also learned from Rachel that the reason Keith married me was to make me take care of his parents. Keith told her everything, looking down on me in the worst ways. Never imagining it would backfire like this. Rachel, why did you just show up? You know it's going to cause trouble, right? I'm here because I genuinely want to marry you. If you want to marry for his parents' care, I'm happy to take it on. I came to tell your parents that. Everyone was astounded by her words, but her sincerity was evident to me alone. as she loved Keith genuinely. Rachel got transferred because she was following her boss she had feelings for at the time. In a way, her straightforwardness was admirable. Which is why I was drawn to her and started talking to her. However, it was clear that she needed to consider the feelings of those around her. With Rachel's arrival, the room was surrounded by the strange atmosphere, which shifted significantly, thanks to my in-laws. So Keith, everything until today has been a lie? Do you even realize what you've done? I'm disappointed in you, Keith. Apologize to Christina and take responsibility. Depending on your answer, we may disown you today. Disown. Mom, wait. Dad, let's calm down, right? The typically gentle and kind in-laws were on the verge of physically attacking their son in their anger. My in-laws, who always speak so gently, seemed like completely different people. No, that's not it. It's precisely because they are kind. They can empathize with others, unlike my husband or his affair partner. That's why they can get so angry on my behalf. Moreover, their anger is out of concern for their son. If they truly didn't care about someone, they wouldn't even bother to get angry. They believe their son will acknowledge his actions, apologize, and change his ways. However, Keith easily trampled over my in-laws' feelings with his next words. I'm tired of pretending. Everything's out in the open now, so I don't care anymore. Well then, let's just get divorced. I'll pay the property division and remarry Rachel. Lucky you, Mom and Dad. Rachel says she'll live with you and take care of you. At that moment, a sharp snap echoed through the new house. When I looked toward the sound, I saw my mother-in-law trembling. Seeing her raise her hand to someone was an unprecedented sight. What do you mean by get divorced and pay the property division and then remarry? Do you not realize how awful what you've done is? Christina always said. Keith saved me. I want to repay Keith. And what now? You married Christina just to make her a slave and then discard her when you're done? Isn't that what family is? Mom and Dad, you were always busy with work and left me alone, right? I thought it was tough, so I followed Dad into sales, but it's easy. I even have time to see another woman. Mom, you cared more about your students than me, right? Now you're just a homemaker who can't do anything, so don't complain to me. Such nauseating words spewed out to his own parents. My in-laws looked like they were about to hit him, but they were frozen in place. They would never neglect their son, but from his perspective, that's how it felt. Perhaps my in-laws also felt guilty for making their son feel lonely. Yet, I knew I must never accept Keith's behavior, and with that thought, I threw my final words at him. You can curse me all you want. But I won't allow you to make your parents sad. Understand? Keith. What you've done will surely come back to haunt you. Don't expect help when that time comes, be prepared.
Yeah.
Whatever. Are we done talking? Hey, Rachel, I'm hungry, let's go eat. Oh, but first, I need to sign the divorce papers. Christina, hand them over. I'll take care of it. Keith, are you sure? Your parents said they'd disown you. It's fine, I have you, right? I can live without my parents. I tried to repay them by arranging for someone to take care of them, but they're getting angry. What's that about?
Bye.
Fools. Don't ever show your face again. With that, Keith forcibly pulled Rachel and left the new house. My in-laws tried to follow, but he quickly got into his car and drove off, leaving them standing in shock. Christina, we will make our son take responsibility. Could you please wait a little longer? If our son turned out this way because of us, and he made you suffer, then it's our fault. No, that's not right. Keith acted on his own will. So, it's Keith who is to blame. And please don't worry. He's already stepped into the end of his life. There's nothing more you need to do. After conveying this, I thanked them for their protection and apologized for not consulting them sooner and for how things turned out. It might be the last time I see them, so it was also a goodbye. A few days later, Keith called me. His voice was full of despair like never before. Christina, please help me. I really didn't know anything. What didn't you know? That Rachel was already married? Or that her husband is connected to the mafia and is now after you because you took Rachel? Or maybe all of it, all of it. I didn't know anything. Why didn't you tell me? And Rachel's husband is apparently your former boss from your company. You knew everything from the start, didn't you? Correct. During my investigation of your infidelity, I reconnected with my former boss. When I told him about Rachel's cheating, he was furious. It seems she didn't even know her husband was connected to the mafia. She tried to escape and then thought she could be protected by you. What? Rachel used me? No wonder I can't contact her. Damn it. If you deceive others, be prepared to be deceived yourself. Well, it doesn't matter anymore. You'll be chased for the rest of your life. As I coldly confronted Keith with reality, the voice on the other end of the phone went silent. What you've done will always come back to you. And when you seek help, it will be too late. It seemed he was recalling my words, completely deflated. Keith had no choice but to desperately cling on. I was wrong. I was all wrong. I never intended to say such horrible things to your or my parents. I truly regret deceiving you. Christina, please, he's your former boss, right? Can't you talk to him? Maybe he can fix this? It won't work. People's feelings aren't that simple. Even if it could be fixed, I won't help you. My only wish is for you and Rachel to suffer in hell. Enjoy the worst life possible. I hung up without waiting for a response and immediately blocked him. I could stay updated on his life through my former boss. No problem. I planned to monitor him until he fell into ruin. Keith would probably beg his parents too, so I needed to keep an eye on that. Soon after, he was forced to quit his job and disappeared from his hometown. My former boss intended to pursue Keith to the ends of the earth. Even if I'm arrested, I'll make him take responsibility. It's not about taking his life, just settling things. He said with a laugh, but his eyes weren't smiling, so I didn't know whether it was true. What I know now is that Keith can no longer lead a decent life. Meanwhile, I decided to visit my in-laws before starting to live alone. There, I heard something I never expected. Apparently, during a business trip, my father-in-law had gathered sightings of people who looked like my parents. I had given him their photos, and he used his spare time during the trip to ask around. We felt that you wanted to meet your parents. It might have been nosy, but we wanted to do something. My wife suggested it. Of course, it's up to you, Christina. If you want to meet them, we are glad to accompany you. Thank you very much. I don't know how to express my gratitude. But I won't go to meet them. I've been thinking. What does family mean to me? I can't quite put it into words yet, but there's no doubt that you two are my family. Will you continue to be my family? Of course. You may have divorced Keith, but you're still our daughter. Maybe like a friend with an age gap? If so, I'd be happy. Though I faced many hardships, I'm fine. The two people who gently supported me taught me the wonderfulness of living with a family. I want to repay them.